All right, let's dive into something that's been making major waves. A huge executive action that is completely changing how the federal government looks at marijuana. This isn't something that happened overnight. It's a policy shift that's been decades in the making. And honestly, it's got some massive implications for medicine, for research, and for millions of Americans.
And boom, here it is. It all kicks off with this very direct announcement. So the heart of the news is this reclassification, right? Moving marijuana from what's called Schedule 1 down to Schedule 3. But what does that actually mean in the real world?
Well, for decades, marijuana has been stuck in that Schedule 1 category. That meant, officially, the federal government's position was that it had absolutely zero accepted medical use. None. By moving it to Schedule 3, they're flipping that script entirely. It's a formal way of saying, okay, we now recognize this has legitimate medical uses, and that one single change, that's the bedrock for this whole new policy. So, you might be asking, why now? What's the big deal all of a sudden? Well, the truth is, this wasn't a sudden decision at all. It's really a response to years and years of pressure and a pretty dramatic shift in how both the public and the medical world see this.
A huge part of the motivation, the one they really highlighted, comes from American patients themselves. We're talking about veterans who are dealing with injuries from their service, folks battling aggressive cancers and seizure disorders, and also older Americans who are just trying to manage chronic pain. The whole announcement was really framed as a direct answer to their calls for more options.
And it's not just a small group pushing for this. The move has massive public support. I mean, look at that number, an 82% approval rating. That is huge. It really shows this isn't some divisive 50-50 issue for most people. It kind of feels like the politicians are finally catching up to where the public has been for a while. This number here, 40, is also a really big piece of the puzzle. That's the number of states that have already recognized medical marijuana. So in a way, this executive order isn't exactly leading the charge. It's more about the federal government finally getting in sync with a reality that's already playing out across most of the country.
Okay, so we've talked about what this order does, but to really get the full picture, it's just as important, maybe even more important, to avoid confusion, to be crystal clear on what this order does not do.
And here's the bottom line. Rescheduling is not legalization, not even close. The order draws a very, very sharp line in the sand. This doesn't give a green light to recreational marijuana use in any way. From now on, it's being treated more like other controlled prescription drugs. It's for legitimate medical use, period.
This personal quote was even used to really hammer that point home. It's a way of setting a firm boundary, right? It clearly separates this push for medical applications from any kind of endorsement of recreational drug use.
So, what happens next? Where do we go from here? Because this rescheduling, it's not just a symbolic gesture. It's specifically designed to unlock real-world scientific and medical progress that has been, frankly, stalled for years. And one of the biggest potential game changers here is the hope that marijuana could become an alternative to addictive opioids. Just think, for patients living with serious chronic pain, this could offer a less dangerous way to manage their symptoms. It could be a powerful new tool in fighting the opioid crisis. The path forward from here really breaks down into 3 key steps. First, and this is the immediate effect, this reclassification cuts through a mountain of federal red tape. That makes it way easier for scientists to actually do their research. Then, that research will let us rigorously study both the benefits and, just as importantly, the potential dangers. And ultimately, all of that work could lead to brand new, scientifically proven medical treatments. And that leaves us with this final big question. You see, this executive order doesn't have all the answers about marijuana's future in medicine. What it does is it finally opens the door for science to start asking the right questions. What we discover in the next few years could change medicine in ways we're probably only just beginning to imagine.